Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Joe Davis, Southern New Hampshire University. CJ 300 Final Project Guidelines and Rubric. We are in module or week 7. Into the road, all of that hard work is now going to be brought together for your final research project or research report. All right, you can take a look at this, and this is the general information. In week 1, it was part of the assignments to read through. Is to make sure that you understand, and again it explains that each of the modules has a milestone, or I should say that they have a milestone or a worksheet in this one to guide you and get you to the point where you can write this research project. I can't emphasize enough that that's exactly what is going to make the difference. This looks like a very large, long, difficult assignment. It isn't. The example that I'll give you in just a few moments is the one where I've used the same topics issue, the same research question all the way through for each of the milestones in each of the worksheets. It took me about 2.5 hours to blend those into the final paper, and then I had to spend some additional time writing the last segment. And yes, I only have 2 research articles where you will have 5. My point is that this is not just an overwhelming assignment if you've stayed current on all the milestones and worksheets and made any necessary changes. Okay? So now, here's the prompt. The critical elements are: you need an introduction at the beginning of your paper that tells the reader what this is about, why it is important to the criminal justice field, necessary information to set the stage for your supervisor, okay, and how to consider how it plays a larger role. That should look very familiar. That is milestone number 1, the work that you did in milestone 1. The second part of the paper is the literature analysis. You need to summarize your research related to the criminal justice issue, identifying common themes across the research. What are the advantages of qualitative and quantitative research methodologies? Okay. What are the disadvantages of it? That's milestone number 2. Then there's the methodology, where you talk about the design and methodology. You draw connections between those, how it was used in the research, and how the research design informed the methodology used, or vice versa. It could go the other way around. You have to talk about validity, and you have to talk about the ethical considerations. That's milestone number 3. And then the final milestone is the research question, where you went from having an issue, something you thought you want to look at, into an actual question that could be researched. And you remember the 5 steps that are mentioned in there, and you talk about things like: got to be of interest, is it measurable, is it narrow, is it too broad, those kinds of things. The new part, the only new part to this assignment, is number 5, where you have to write a conclusion and future direction. You need to identify patterns in the research, okay? Discuss the importance of using the scientific method in the research, and then consider the future direction of research of the topic. This information will help your supervisor further target his or her future research. Okay, so what patterns did you identify? What conclusions could you form about your research question on these patterns? Ensure that you use both qualitative and quantitative studies when you identify the patterns. What conclusions might you make about your research? Okay, then we move to B. It says, how did you use the scientific method to ensure you conducted your research ethically? C, in what ways would future research of the issue benefit from new approaches or new methodologies? Okay, so we still haven't gotten to where we're going to go to work yet. We're just looking at the other stuff. Scroll back down there just a second. Bear with me. Well, maybe, who knows. There are the milestones. And so we can look at milestone 1, 2, and 3. And then the final submission. I'm going too far too fast. All right, module 7. And that's where you have to write this research report. All right, so there's the basic rubric. I went through it, tried to go through it quickly, hit the high points for you. That's the due dates for everything. Here, of course, is how you will be graded. Here are the critical elements of the rubric. Pay attention to them. You want to do a great job on your introduction. You want to do the literature analysis where you summarize the research. You want to do literature analysis where you have the advantages of research methodology, literature analysis of the disadvantages. These are the things that you should have been writing about in your other paper, in the earlier papers, okay? Methodology, the design and methodology, then there's the validity, the ethical considerations, then your research question, assumptions and limitations, the criminological theory, direction, future directions and patterns, that's the end of your paper. Okay, so let's see if I can't find the copy of the sample paper for you to take a look at. Okay, here we go. This is the sample paper that, of course, will be attached and emailed out to all of you. These are my notes at the very beginning. This is a sample for 7-1 research report. It is not a complete exemplar. The difference is that a sample is just that, a sample, bits and pieces to help you as a guideline or a template, as it says. An exemplar would be a completed paper. Okay? It is based on sample papers for the previous milestones and worksheets, so you may find it beneficial to look at those in the context of the module assignments. And by that I mean the sample papers, because now's your last chance to clean up any errors or bumps in the road that you might have had. Okay, please remember to use APA format. That means you need to have an abstract, a running head, a title page, and references at the end. Help can be found at either of these two websites, the Purdue Online Writing Lab or OWL. There's the link. Or you can use the Blackboard course, the shell as it is sometimes called for CJ300. You click on course information, then scroll down to writing support and click on the appropriate link. Okay? Here is the title page. Some of you will want to add artwork and lines and colors. This is what APA calls for. The title of your paper, for me this one is Sample 7-1 Research Project. You're going to put your name there and Southern New Hampshire University. You note the running head at the top, lowercase here, colon, capital letters for the title of your paper, and the running page numbers, which of course this should be number 1, except my note page counted. Okay. Here is an abstract. If you're unsure about what an abstract should be, you're not telling the story, you're talking about just enough of the facts and the methodology to tell the reader what happened. This research project is partial fulfillment of requirements for Criminal Justice 300 research methods for criminal justice. General research topics were provided included domestic violence. The research question in this project is, are children who are exposed to repeat violence during 4 to 7 years of age more likely in the short term to experience a wide variety of social adjustments and emotional difficulties? Solely the author, because it asks who are the participants in this, so solely the, meaning researchers. Solely the author completed all research for this project. The research methods included identifying the trends of intimate partner trends in the effect of intimate partner violence on exposed young children. A literature analysis was conducted to locate and evaluate 5 pertinent peer-reviewed articles. The results of the research revealed both short and long-term behavioral. So you can see it's about the research. It's not about the results of the research. Okay? And here are some key words, what you might look for, or someone might look for that would guide them to my paper. Okay, so here's what the paper looks like starting out. Here's your title. I would use headings like this. I say that because it will help you make sure you don't miss a section and that you at least have some type of an answer for everything. Okay, so when you look at that, it's children exposed to and blah blah blah. This all comes from the very first paper. And I'll just scroll along slowly. I'm not going to read the whole paper to you. Here it's referred to as an issue, not a research question. All right, then we get to the next paper, the next milestone, we get a literature analysis. This text that you're looking at is almost word for word from what I showed you as the example for, I believe it's milestone 2. Yes, I had to do some wordsmithing, as it's called, some editing, so that it was smooth and it made sense and it all fit. No, there's not the citation for the article that Dr. Holmes wrote. That's going to fall at the end of this paper in the references. But you can see, or if you're confused about what to do, look at this sample paper and go back and look at the sample for the appropriate milestone, which, as I said, I believe is milestone 2, and you should be able to see that they're very, very similar. And again, I'll just scroll along here so you can get the idea of it. Of course, you can read this. Here are the disadvantages listed. Paragraph prior, Holmes's research utilized quantitative research methods, specifically the use by using latent growth curve. Okay, so there's the explanation of it. Now we move to the second article. Remember, I only have 2 for the sample, so you had a quantitative and a qualitative example, but the process is the same. And again, this was all pretty much word for word what was in the milestone. In blue, my note to you, there are only 2 sample articles presented here. The assignment requires students to include 5, with 2 of those being qualitative methodologies. Some of you have had some struggles with this, and you're really using articles that are more meta-analysis, so that there isn't really a research methodology to it. A meta-analysis is that you look at all the other research and report on it. Valuable tool, and you could include one of those, but you really need to have the research methods like what we're studying. Okay, here's methodology. So again, I would use the headings to make sure you have design and methodology. Scroll down here a little bit. There's the section, or here is the section on validity. Here's the section on ethical considerations. Note, once again, there are only 2 articles here, but that you need 5 articles. So don't look at this sample and think because there are 2, that's all you need. Here's the milestone for developing the research question and the process that went through. Once again, almost all of this verbiage is written. Like I said, it took me about 2.5 hours to get to conclusion and future direction. So to edit and put all of everything together to here, a couple of hours, 2-3 hours worth of work. Here is the conclusion where you're talking about the patterns in the research, the use of the scientific method, and what the future holds, looking out into the future for this research that might be. Or I should say what might be in the future for this research. Only 2 references, the 2 articles that are cited, that's in APA format, alphabetical order, hanging paragraphs. Okay. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have questions. Time is flying on you. I get it. Jump on it, work on it a little bit every day. I would encourage you to not just put it off till Sunday. Keep those cards and letters coming.